Shortly after 6:30 this evening, the St. Johns County Sheriff's Office received a 911 phone call from within the complex that they had heard shots fired. They had heard multiple rounds coming from within a vehicle. It's a pickup truck within the parking lot. Two of the individuals inside that pickup truck upon our arrival were discovered to be shot. Both were in critical condition. One individual was life-flighted to Memorial Hospital in Jacksonville, while the other was ground transported to Flagler Hospital a short distance away. Eyewitness accounts detailed a very brief description of a potential suspect who was seen running away from the vehicle and potentially shedding clothing as the individual ran. We launched aviation units, K-9 units. K-9s also came in from the St. Augustine Beach Police Department. We had officers here from multiple jurisdictions that were involved in a search for the individual on foot. Deputies did in fact encounter an individual who matched the description that we originally received. That individual was detained and he is with detectives now being questioned. He has not been determined to be the suspect in this case at this time, or if it's even confirmed that he's involved, although all the likelihood that we have at this point in time is that he is potentially in the area at the time of this crime scene. So at this point in time, investigators are continuing. Forensic examiners are here. As soon as they get a search warrant, they'll begin processing the vehicle, and we will continue. As you were all standing here, you saw the dive team truck pull in. They will, of course, be diving this pond throughout the evening, looking for any evidence that may be contained therein. So with that, if you have any other questions.
You said one victim was transported via airborne?
That's correct. One was taken by air ambulance to Jacksonville, and I believe that was Memorial Hospital. The other subject was ground transported to Flagler. The initial information we had was that 2 ATUs, air transport units, were on standby, but only one actually deployed and transported a patient.
And our photographer who was here earlier said that he had spoken to a man who said that he observed what may have been marijuana somewhere near the scene. Is there any indications to whether this may have been drug related?
Well, we're not going to get into that. At this point in time, we haven't received the search warrant to even get inside that vehicle. So we're going to keep all that close to our vest as far as confirming any information. But certainly there were 3 individuals, it appears, that were inside a vehicle together driving through a parking lot when the gunfire erupted.
So wait,
so
3 were in the vehicle, but 2 were hit?
That's correct. So 2 victims and a shooter.
The person you have detained, do you know the relationship between that person and the 2 that were shot?
We do know the relationships at this juncture and have all the identities, but of course with Marcy's law, I can't get into any victim information, gender, race, or anything, any kind of relationship whatsoever at this juncture.
Can you clarify that again? So 2 people were sitting in a truck, but a 3rd person was outside the truck?
Well, that's what we're going to determine, Eric. So we have 2 individuals who we know were inside the vehicle. They belong in that vehicle, so that's their mode of transportation. The 3rd individual, who is potentially the shooter, was seen running away. So we don't know at this point in time if they were all in the vehicle together, if one walked up to the vehicle. We don't know those facts yet. So that's why the interviews are going on with any potential witnesses. This complex is equipped with video surveillance, as well as many witnesses who came out and may have captured it on video camera as well. So we're going to go through all of that and put all the pieces to the puzzle together.
And what was the time frame again on that?
It was around 6:27 this evening, just before 6:30.
So do you believe that these people all knew each other?
Well, I'm not going to speculate. I can just tell you that at some juncture, there were at least two individuals who were victims, and another individual who's a potential shooter, that were all together for some reason. And we're going to get through the nuts and bolts of that, if you will, all the nomenclature, and we're going to solve that. But again, we're only an hour and a half into this, so I don't want to speculate. We do always have information behind the scenes that we don't immediately release. There's legal reasons why we don't do that, of course, but also to make sure that if something does change and the nuances adjust, that we haven't released information that then becomes inaccurate. And so we don't want to mislead. We want to work with the facts. We don't have all the facts yet, although we do have a lot of components, and it's coming together. Again, we do have the individual who matched the description. We have not declared that individual the suspect at this point in time, and we're continuing to work that through.
Did they ever find a weapon?
Well, again, the dive team is here. There's a large pond behind me, so the dive team is going to be looking for any evidence that we may not have contained within this scene at this point in time.
So to clarify, the 3rd individual who was seen running away at some point in time was seen in the car with the two victims?
Well, in and or around. So that's what we're going to determine and clarify. It's possible that all three were in the vehicle, but again, eyewitnesses usually aren't paying very close attention to something before it happens. So as this erupted, as things began to happen, people were paying attention to it. We have various different accounts, and as you can imagine, an eyewitness on one side of an apartment complex or in a parking lot, and an eyewitness who's directly across or directly in front will all have different vantage points, and we'll all see something slightly different. So we'll get all of those individuals together. We're going to let them collectively all catch their breath. As you can imagine, when something like this happens, you know, your adrenaline rushes, even if you're not directly involved. And so we're going to let these folks take a few moments, collect themselves, and that's what's been going on. Our detectives will interview each one of them thoroughly. We will look for video, both from the complex and from anyone who may have captured it, from any systems that they may have installed, and or anybody who may have pulled out a phone and began to record as this was beginning to emerge.
And the vehicle was a truck, correct?
It is a pickup truck.
A pickup truck, okay.
Is there a threat to the public or the community at this time?
We don't believe there's anything at this point in time. Again, we've found a subject who matches the description. We're not at the point we can declare him as a suspect, but we would always, as we do all the time 24/7, remind people to be aware of their surroundings. If you're in your home, you should have all your doors locked. And so we would encourage that just because that's the best practice on any given day.
Chuck, are you guys getting a lot of help from neighbors who may have heard the shots or maybe even saw what happened? Are you getting a lot of help?
Yeah, again, as I've stated to you, we do have eyewitnesses in this. Our detectives are going to interview all of those individuals who may have seen some or parts and pieces or all of the event as it unfolded.
Can you confirm if the victims were male, female?
I'm sorry, say that again?
Can you confirm male, female?
I can tell you that the subject that we're talking with is a male subject, but I won't go beyond that. Again, if it is determined that this individual is not involved, we would never release their name and disparage them in any way.
The victims, male, female?
Again, the victims, under Marcy's law, we don't have a declaration yet. They haven't been able to speak with us. And we have to reach out to their families. We have to let them know what's occurring. And then from that standpoint, if they declare Marcy's law, we will tell no one anything about the individuals, to include race, color, or any kind of relationship they may have.
And you say, based on what you guys have been able to see so far, there were multiple shots that were fired?
Again, the first accounts were that multiple shots were fired. We have not yet gotten inside the vehicle. We have not served the search warrant. So we know what items are around this vehicle. We know, of course, that rescue was here working on patients, so some of that has been disrupted. So again, we've got a lot of evidentiary findings to go through tonight as this unfolds.
I don't know if you can answer this or not, but has there been a history of any violence of this nature at this particular complex?
Nothing like this that I can recall since it's been built. There may be some issues or incidents somewhere, but certainly nothing like this that I recall.
Can you say if either of the victims lived here?
At this point, I can tell you nothing about the victims.
And what was this complex name again?
I believe this is Florida Club. It's Florida Club Boulevard is the aisleway that we're standing on, and I believe these are Florida Club condominiums. And it's within the overall subdivision of Royal St. Augustine off of State Road 16.
Did anyone appear to, has the investigation to this point revealed whether someone tried to administer aid to the victims or not?
Well, I don't know that. I have not talked to detectives as to who first began to administer aid. Obviously, once the deputies get here, they have multiple functions that they're trying to accomplish all at the same time. Some deputies are going to administer aid and secure that scene. Other deputies are going to begin the search based off of the information that we initially received when we arrived on scene.
Hey, how long did it take for deputies to find the person or get in contact with the person that's now being detained?
I don't have an exact timeline on that, Eric, but I would tell you, I would estimate somewhere in the neighborhood of 35 to 45 minutes thereabouts.
Was he still in the general area?
I won't get into where he was, because that, again, gets into the detective's timeline. How fast can someone move to this distance to that location? So I don't want to get into all that at this point in time. But suffice it to say, an individual who matched the general description we got was found in the generalized area, and we're pursuing it from there.
And well, I guess to that other question, was there a resident that tried to administer aid at all?
You know, I just don't know. I do not know exactly if someone came over and began, you know, any type of first aid. I'd have to ask those questions.
And the 911 calls came from people who live here?
That's my understanding, yes.
Okay.
And since you're still waiting on that warrant and all that stuff, you're probably gonna be here for a while this evening. Is that what
Yeah,
you're
I would imagine this scene will be ongoing for the next 3 to 4 hours at a minimum. Again, with the dive team here, depending on what they find, you know, and the timeline, they could be back out tomorrow morning as well. So again, that's speculative. We just don't know until we get there. Okay. All right. Thank you all very much. We appreciate it.
Thank you.